good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're in because you've written a book, Keep Talking.
I know, crazy idea.
Which is sort of the anecdotes and experiences of you and your broadcasting career over the years.
Yeah, it's about what... It's not an autobiography. It's just about broadcasting as I've seen it. 'Cause I've done... I mean, I began when I was 12.
12?
12.
No.
What were you doing?
I know, you might well ask. What was I doing at 12? I did a radio programme called Family Favourites on Boxing Day and read out cards and played music.
Amazing.
And then I made films when I was in my teenage years, and then I started as a reporter in Bristol when I left university.
So from a very early age, the idea of broadcasting was something that was in you. You wanted to be able to...
I can't work it out. I think it was kind of instinctive. I've always said, you know, if your father is a butcher and you go into the butcher shop on a Saturday to help when you're 12, you know...
Right.
It may be you think butchering is your life.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people do naturally follow what their parents do, but it was never...
My dad was an accountant. I really wasn't going to go down.
My kids
My dad didn't want me to be a broadcaster.
Oh, really?
No, he thought it was not a good profession.
Why?
It wasn't even a profession. I don't know. He wanted me to be either a lawyer...
Yes.
which would have been hell on earth, frankly, or...
A doctor?
No, not a doctor, no. He wanted to be a doctor. He wanted to be a brain surgeon. Everybody says they want to be something else. I've actually always enjoyed being a broadcaster. That's what I like doing. So why would I choose a different career?
Well, you've certainly had an incredible career, so thank goodness you did choose and did it. And,
I don't know, it's been incredible. It's been long, I think, is the way to put it.
Oh,
I've
no,
done
it
lots of
has been
things,
incredible.
yeah.
It's been incredible. What do you make of what's going on now?
It's chaotic, isn't it? I've never seen quite such chaos. But, I mean... I've got... I don't know, it's not just the chaos of a party that's clearly disintegrating before our eyes in the Conservative Party, riven with disagreement. I mean, what was going on in Birmingham, unbelievable, you know, former cabinet ministers, all that stuff. And that does happen to politics, in politics sometimes, and you get these kind of shifts. But I've never seen it quite so chaotic, and... That effect of the world money markets just saying, you know, Britain is a basket case, you know, when, you know, you can't go on like this. They have to retract things they've just announced. I mean, it's crazy. But it seems to me in politics, these things, they do kind of come and go, you know. I'm sure, I mean, I think our politics will settle at some point. I mean, we've got problems that all parties acknowledge.
It feels like an omni-crisis.
I mean, you were talking about nurses' pay, you know. We know that there's money doesn't just fall from the trees. We know we've got problems. There's problems with Ukraine, there's problems with endless things about...
But if you're stepping up to do the job, we expect you to have a plan, hopefully a plan that's been thought through and carefully considered. Yeah. You've interviewed most of the Prime Ministers over the years, going back to Margaret Thatcher.
She was a bit all over the place, I think, we thought. Politically, I wasn't quite sure what she stood for. You don't know each other.
I would have voted for her. I'd vote for
horribly.
her.
But you see what I mean? You have a feel for who's Britain.
And you had a tattoo, though, at an age where people mostly sort of regretting having tattoos, maybe.
No, on the contrary. Old people are very keen on being young nowadays. And go out and get tattoos and do it all. Now, my favourite moment of all those things in the book was the interview with Margaret Thatcher. Which was weird in Washington, just after she became leader of the Tory party. She went to Washington and she wanted to be interviewed in front of the White House for image purposes, because it would make her look powerful. You know, she wasn't Prime Minister, she was just leader of the Tory party. And she had a sort of image advisor who wanted her to sit in front of the White House. And the only way we could do it in the end, she sat on a bench with the White House behind her, the only way we could get the eye line to work, because
of the camera.
Was for me to kneel in front of her. So I was kneeling in front of Mrs. Thatcher. But a passing tourist took a snap of it and sent it to Downing Street when she became Prime Minister. So BBC on its knees in front of Mrs. Thatcher, which is what a lot of critics of the BBC would like to think.
Thank you for coming in and sharing those stories. Keep Talking is David's book, A Broadcasting Life.